From the Oklahoma Newsroom, this is an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here in studio with Ryan Aber, OU beat writer. Ryan, we have seen through 2 games the Sooners throw it a lot, which we expected, but maybe more important, they've thrown it to a lot of different guys. Just a wide array of pass catchers out there. And while some of them are coming out of the backfield, a lot of them are wide receivers. I mean, guys that are going to be asked to continue catching, but how are they going to keep all these guys happy? Because last I checked, there's only one football out there.
Yeah, that's the question. And generally in football, no position has the kind of egos that come with wide receivers, as we've seen in the NFL over the last few months. But Oklahoma definitely spread the ball out over the first couple of games. Heck, we saw CeeDee Lamb with only 2 catches in the opener. He had a big game with 6 catches on 6 targets in the second game against South Dakota. But you haven't seen Lee Morris catch a ball yet through 2 games. That's a guy who's caught a lot of touchdowns for the Sooners the last couple of years. We've seen Charleston Rambo and Theo Weiss and Jaden Hazelwood and Trajan Bridges, Michael Jones, A.D. Miller have their moments, but it's not going to be an offense where you're going to see a guy get consistently 5-6 catches a game, which might keep a player like a CeeDee Lamb, who is thought of as one of the best receivers in college football, from putting up gaudy numbers and putting up, Biletnikoff Award type numbers. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. But talked to some players and coaches about it on Monday, and they said the good thing about this group is that they sort of check their egos at the door, and that starts with the older guys, especially Lee Morris and Nick Basquin were the 2 that were mentioned most often, and it sort of trickles down from them. And that works to keep that in check a little bit.
You mentioned Lee Morris, a guy that we saw seemingly only catch touchdowns last year, frankly. But he's a guy who was a high school teammate with Kyler Murray. I don't know if there was any additional connection there that, Kyler felt comfortable with Lee. Are we seeing something similar with, and there was a lot of talk in the offseason about CeeDee Lamb's work with Jalen Hurts. Not to say that he's only going to throw it to CeeDee Lamb when you've got these other guys, but is that maybe something to keep an eye on too as it relates to who's catching passes out there?
Yeah, we'll see if that connection keeps up. I mean, like I said, CeeDee only had the 2 catches in the opener, but they're both from Houston. They were able to spend a lot of time over the offseason working out together, even when they were back home in Houston, and that really helped build a connection between those 2. In my mind, CeeDee Lamb is the clear number 1 receiver on this team, although they've got some really talented guys in those next slots. Charleston Rambo and Jaden Hazelwood probably being the top 2 right now. But I would anticipate that connection with Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb only getting stronger.
As you think about who was lost, I mean, with all these guys, you don't really think about, who did they lose off last year's team. But with Marquise Brown being gone, the guy that was really such a field stretcher, is there an obvious 1 or 2 guys that might fill that role as this season goes on? Because I don't think we've seen the playbook really opened up yet.
No, we really haven't, but the 2 obvious ones are the ones I just mentioned, Charleston Rambo and Jaden Hazelwood. I mean, we saw that on display on Saturday and against Houston. I mean, the touchdown that Charleston Rambo had against Houston looked a lot like a Marquise Brown play. I mean, he caught it a little bit down the field, but really had to turn on his speed to make it work, and just absolutely throttled by three or four defenders. We saw Jaden Hazelwood make a couple of really nice plays that stretched the field the other night. So I think those 2 guys are the obvious ones. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that out of CeeDee Lamb as he's worked to add that part to his game. He's not a slow receiver himself, but I think, to me, Rambo is the one who most fits that mold. He's a guy who had a lot of hype coming out of high school, had to redshirt, but came on at the end of last year and has been fantastic since then.
All right, something to keep an eye on as this season continues, and it will continue on Saturday night at UCLA. Kick time is 7 p.m. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at oklahoman.com and every day in the Oklahoman.